the Couture 303 podcast with Jay Viper.
The Couture 303 podcast is now officially sponsored by Dapper Turkish Barbers in Hunts Cross. You can find them on Wood End Avenue and they do the full service there. The hair, the beard, the ears, the nose, the cutthroat, hot towels, the lot. It's the only barbers I ever go to. Fantastic service, great lads. No need to book, just pop in and see them 7 days a week. If you want a nice sick fade like mine, you will not be disappointed. The absolute best in the area. That's Dapper Turkish Barbers, Wood End Avenue, Hunts Cross. And now back to the show. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Couture 303 podcast. If you recognise the logo behind me, you'll know exactly who I'm talking to today. It is the one and only DJ Paulo. How are we, Paul?
Oh, good, mate. What an intro. Fuck
yeah. One and done. Yeah, one take, eh?
Yeah, one take. Yeah, let's
take. We haven't been here all morning. How are we, Paul? Are we okay?
I'm good, pal. Good to see you. You?
So as I always do with all my podcasts, I give a little bit of background. So I first met Paul many, many years ago. I think it was 1998 or 1999. He was running this night behind us, Uprising. And I sent him a tape, if anyone remembers tapes. I sent him a tape and he gave me a gig. Went down to Sheffield, played the gig. And then a couple of months later, it was my birthday coming up. And I reached out to Paul and I said, "Hi, Paul." I said, "Sorry to bother you. It's my birthday in May. I see you've got Sharkey on. Is there any chance you get me a little a walkover or half price tickets or something?" And he went, "Didn't you play for me the other week?" I said, "Yeah, a couple of months ago." He said, "Oh, bring your tunes down." And I came down and played for what was then Revolution. So that's how we first met. Fast forward 24 years, I'm at the Stu Allan Festival. This guy obviously doesn't remember me anymore. Why would he? I'm just another DJ. And he's on before me. So I turns up, unravels my headphones, looks at the decks, and there's only a fucking the big jack. So I looks at Paul, I showed him the end of my headphones, and he kind of rolled his eyes and went, "Oh, give me the fucking jack plug." So this guy here, this guy here saved my set at the Stu Allan Festival. So for that, Paul, I am forever eternally grateful.
Right. And just on that, on Colin's podcast, and all you call that hard, I thought, fucking hell, yeah. Because mystery solved, that's where it went to.
Yeah, because you get home and you think, what have I done with that? Because obviously you forget, don't you?
And I told you I got the shitty Amazon one that doesn't screw on. So I'm like, these shitty Amazon ones, that'd be good ones that screw on. He's got it now.
You're at the Stu Allan Festival again this year, aren't you?
No.
You're not there this year, no? I was going to bring it back to you in like a little ring box and propose to you on the stage and all that.
Oh, mate, that would have been lovely.
That would have been a sweet little moment. Might be the second best memorable on-stage event.
Well, you never know.
Right, Paul. As we do with all my guests, mate, we go right back to the very, very start. So the first question I ask everybody is, where and when were you born?
Wow, okay. Well, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far away, clearly. So born in Lincolnshire, born with my dad over there because he was in the RAF. Come across to Yorkshire, grew up in Yorkshire, Pitt Village. So, not a lot to do for your fun, really. Throwing stones at the trains and making fires and shit like that.
So your dad was in the RAF. What was the rest of your family dynamic like?
So dad was in the RAF and then we moved and he went into civic fire service. Mum just worked as Securicor, just as like cashier type thing, nothing. Yeah, just working class, normal people, mate, basically. Yeah. I mean, our kid who were, as well, Ian.
So brothers and sisters, that was my next question. Brothers, siblings?
Yeah, just me and our kid.
Older or younger?
Younger.
He's younger than you?
Yep.
So usually people's musical influences either come from the parents or older brothers, older sisters, cousins, uncles. When were you first introduced to music in any capacity?
Ooh, well, as a kid, as a really young kid. So my granddad was in a band. He played double bass and percussion, and he got a pub in a place in Lincolnshire where mum met dad kind of thing. So apparently I used to play drums there. I was sort of into it. I don't really remember too much, but apparently, allegedly, I was. Then as I got older, they had music, sort of Motown, Beatles, kind of usual stuff. So they were kind of the influences. Stevie Wonder, she was into stuff like fucking Elkie Brooks. I remember going out in the car, back to visit the relatives, and she'd have this stuff on in the car, and like, you got no choice, and you sat in the back, and whatever shit they put on in the car,
It gets ingrained in your brain, doesn't it?
Or on the radio. That was the other thing. As we got older, you got this cassette player and you were taping the charts, and you're like, get the bit out where the guy's talking.
Everyone says that. I just done a podcast this week with DJ Six. He was the DMC European mixing champion 1989, and he went on to do great things. And he said the same thing. He used to record the charts, and he'd try and press pause before the fella spoke and stuff like that. So you said you were playing drums as a kid. I mean, yeah. I was as well, but when I say I was playing drums, I had a quality street tin and 2 knitting needles. I imagine your setup was slightly better than mine.
Yeah, well, I didn't have one at home, but I then, funnily enough, when I was in secondary school, I studied drums, so I studied percussion, passed exams, grade 6, I think I did, or something like that. Percussion and side drums and all, long time ago. But yeah, did the school bands thing, and at band camp. Didn't suck anybody off.
Have you got a flute?
I cut that out.
What was school like for you then, Paul? Obviously, it's the same as me, working class background, times were hard. I'm guessing you grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, same as me. What was school like for you?
It's all right, just as good as it could be. Kind of enjoyed it. Got some stick because I was always clowning around. I was a class joker, so trying to make people laugh and get on, which sort of backfired. It's a bit weird because at school I got a bit of stick, bit bullied a little bit, but yet back home I think because it was like, right, I live in house, I can escape from school, not here.
Yeah,
I used to always be getting into tear-ups at home, which was weird, and then they found it weird at school that like you a bit of a puff at school, but yeah, at home you're fighting with everybody in these days. It's just, I
think a lot of kids, myself included, you use like comedy as like a coping mechanism. You want to fit in. I mean, I can say I've said openly on my podcast. Growing up, I didn't have all the fancy clothes, and I didn't have all the nice going on nice holidays. So your way to fit in is to make people laugh because that's free, and you can do that easily enough.
And on that, because I grew up in Lincolnshire until I was 5, I pronounced words different, so I sounded like a puff compared to people from Rotherham. I said gate.
Yeah.
So, right.
You just sounded posh, didn't you? To them.
Yeah,
so would you anything in school you excelled in? Were you academic, or was anything you took a fancy to?
Yeah, maths, physics, engineering stuff. So yeah, I was really good at that. Passed equivalent A-level maths at 16, which was like considered to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
I got I can't even remember, 6, 7 O-levels, can't remember. But yeah, so I did pretty well at school, to be fair.
Yeah, fantastic. So at what age did you start? Obviously, so you've got your good grades in school, you've left school. Job straight after school or no?
Yeah, did A-levels, did a year, fucking hated it, just thought...
What did you hate about it?
Sorry?
What did you hate about it?
Just being back at school is just like, it's not for me. I want to go out and do something. And so I got mates obviously who are on the tools and working in dough. I got mates who were gone college, gone to the proper sixth form, the posh one in Rotherham. I went to the College of Arts Technology, and after a year I just thought I can't be arsed with it, and I actually went on YT, which my parents were mortified. My mates thought it was hilarious. Like, the only kids who went on YT were either through an apprenticeship because they got apprenticeship at work, or there's just nothing else for them. In Rotherham, you either went to college if you're smart, you went in the forces if you were smart because you didn't want to go down the pit or the steelworks, which were pretty much decimated. You'd either got a mate or of dads or whatever, get into something, or everybody else just went on YT. So I was with everybody else, and my mate's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's similar in Liverpool, to be fair. Growing up for us, either, as you say, you went on to further education. If you were smart enough, you joined the forces. If you weren't smart enough, or if you, like you just said there, if you knew someone who worked in Fords, I work at Jaguar Land Rover now, but it was Fords back then, and it was if your dad worked there or your uncle, and being a single child to a single parent's only child, I had fucking no one to get me anyway, so I went down the army route for a little bit. But it's sometimes it seems quite bleak at the time, doesn't it? Your options seem very, very limited.
They do.
So
I did that, got through that, and studied. I went and did a BTEC at the same time, and eventually got myself a job at the council doing IT because I was kind of a bit computer sort of literate, I suppose you could say. I was into that kind of thing, bit of a geek.
So when did you discover? So obviously we discussed your musical background, if you like, which we all get. Sat in the car or listen to the radio, listen to shit we don't even want to hear. But I think it expands your musical knowledge moving forward when you get older. So at what point? I'm guessing you would you start out as a clubber before you started DJing, or what's the path there?
Yeah, kind of. So guy I went to college with, who actually happened to be at the same school but was a year above me. We were both on the same course on the BTEC, and he was into dabbling with DJing and stuff. So he introduced me to another guy who let me warm up for him. So it was doing like the pubs and stuff like that, nothing particularly fancy. And Acid House was kicking off at the same time. So there's me buying probably stuff in here, Baby Ford and stuff like that, really sort of kind of cutting edge. And then, but here you are in Rotherham in a local village pub where the last thing you'll be playing is like Baby Ford Hoochie Coochie or something like that,
Yeah.
So you're buying this stuff, never going to play it, dream of it, and you're kind of cutting your teeth and doing your apprenticeship, pubs, clubs, bar mitzvahs, weddings, all that kind of thing. So that's kind of how it started. So it was literally July '88. I first went and put a record on a deck. It was around the time of Bros, when Will I Be Famous and all that. And my mate Darren, who got me into it, he's like doing this crappy little pub on the edge of Rotherham. Like, even though it was dead, he was like, "This is brilliant. I want to do this."
So rewind just a little touch then. So did you start buying records first, or did you get decks first, or what was the first introduction to this?
Records first. So buying records first. I was buying the stuff I wanted to play, the stuff to play to do the gigs. The decks came a bit late further down, which I'll come on to in a little while. And we went out on the local guy had his Citronic buddy twin turntables, belt drive, the little adjust to vary speed, all in one stuff. I think it was Cloud Electronics was the shop in Sheffield, and they used to make the decks and stuff like that. And people sometimes pop them up on Facebook. It's like, fuck it, I used to play on those.
So you're buying stuff that you like to play, but you're actually doing like functions and stuff like that. Obviously, in the background now, this is late '80s. As you said, the acid house scene is just starting to bubble up in the background. Did you go to many raves back then?
No, you see, that's the weird thing, because I went to clubs that played a bit of it, and we had like what was Passion and Robin that did the Enchantment, where Coxie and people like that. I think Cox went. But as it kind of evolved into that piano-y scene, sort of 91, 92, it wasn't really my thing. I found myself buying more house, deep house, so TC 1992 funky guitar, stuff like that, direct two fat guitars. So me and my pal used to go to Manchester Underground and buy these tunes, as well as other places. But I'm buying the more prog house stuff because I just found the ravey stuff all piano-y in a bit.
Yeah.
I was always growing up, as I was leaving school, I got into Depeche Mode, the Smiths, but really had a thing for like the electronic music. So that was kind of that where I found my real sort of, I won't say passion, but the interest.
Yeah.
So you get like the 12-inch remixes, got mates that have an album recorded. So I was listening to that, and that, although I was buying the acid house stuff, I was always looking for that slightly more industrial kind of, not as poppy, not as commercial, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I didn't go, to your question. I didn't really go. It just didn't appeal. I don't know why. It just didn't.
Yeah. So you're buying these records. At what point then did you start doing? Was it decks first, or did you do a mixtape in someone else's house, or did you go somewhere? What was the turning point?
Yeah, so it was decks really. So around this time, so we touched on it earlier in the pre-bit. Obviously, growing up in rough Rotherham, I got myself into all sorts of scrapes. So I was always, it was either fighting, flying around in cars, or girls, basically. I was going to say
the other F.
That was fencing has been like, diving.
Doing that with his fingers, and I just girls.
There's the four Fs. And I was in and out of bother quite a lot, and I had a bit of an epiphany where I flipping had a well, nearly killed me and a mate tazzing around in a car that I shouldn't have been in and stuff like that. And it was a crazy old weekend, breaking into compounds and have to let the car go up because the dabs were all over it and all sorts. Yeah, madness, like literally like a scene out of Lock, Stock. And that was kind of my epiphany. This is around the time I was still just doing more towny pubs. I'd sort of progressed into that. And I just thought, and I got me dirt bike at the time. I was into me motocrosses as young lads are. And I just thought, fuck this shit, stop being a dickhead. I saw my motocross, which I loved. It was like 18-month-old RMX 250 for all you bike fans. And bought these Technics. in the big coffin with the Citronic mixer. It's like, right, that's it. Because I could mix a bit on the belt drives, but I thought, right, if I'm going to do this and have a proper crack at it, get the fucking decks, do it properly. So that was it. And then I devote myself to, right, I've got to try and figure this stuff out.
And there was no YouTube back then either, was there? So I was lucky that I had a guy by ours called Kev Mack, and he had 1200s, and he showed me the basics. And I always say this, I owe a lot to Kev Mack. I don't see much of him these days. We just kind of moved apart and grew apart. But he was the first person to show me a few bits and bobs. And like I say, without him, you'd be there all day because, like I say, no sync button, no display of the BPM, no YouTube. You'd be fucking lost, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So how many hours a day do you reckon you spent on them?
I don't know, mate. I really don't know. Just a couple of 3 hours most days, mixing all sorts. I'd take my decks with me to one of the gigs rather than use the guy who had the gigs decks. So he got his whatever, and I just took my great big coffin in the car and, decks out there so I could use proper techniques and mix. And I was doing, like, in the pubs, I was doing more housey, kind of clubby, bit of charty stuff. And then we'll come on to this in a little while when we started doing some stuff in Chesterfield, me, our kid, Danny Double L, and a guy called Craig Unity. That's when it sort of progressed into the harder stuff, the hardcore scene.
So do you remember your first gig playing proper stuff then?
I'd say it was probably it was a place called Spires in Chesterfield. It was like the big towny pub, but you could get away with playing proper, dance music. So my pal Liam, who got me into the DJing thing when I was at college with him, he was away and he let me stand in for him a couple of times. He was off on holiday. Can you stand in? So I kind of did a sickie with the guy I was doing the pubs and the general stuff for, which he knew exactly what was going on and fired me for letting him down, which was fair enough. Which probably did me a favour, which we'll come on to. So I does do this, a couple of days at Spires, the Friday and the Saturday, playing all the towny stuff. And this is great. And stretch my legs and play some house music. Maybe even a bit of like playing with knives, Bizarre Ink, and push the bow out, like 92 time. And because I'd lost my job with him, this other guy who was his like arch enemy in Rotherham, like they got these mobile discos, he got a pub called the Cross Keys, another towny pub. And because I'd lost my job, the guy who owned Spires was getting another place in Chesterfield called Norma Jeans, which is quite important. We'll come on to it. So I had a bit of time where I was not DJing regular because I used to do 4 or 5 nights a week. But I got this Saturday night in Rotherham playing more towny stuff, bit of a mishmash, but some sort of towny charty, housey stuff. And then Norma Jeans, when that opened up, I had Thursday, Friday there. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And what happened in Chesterfield was around the same time I started going Donny Warehouse. Don't know why, I just fancied going there. Some pals were going. This is 93. Going to Donny Warehouse and mind blown. I mean, obviously we had some partly pharmaceuticals. But it was the fact that the music had changed from what my perception was of this piano-y, hands in the air stuff to, you got German trance and Belgian techno and all manner of stuff, as well as the breakbeat stuff.
More aggressive, more energetic.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is nothing like what I thought. So I was just completely sucked in. So I went from here I'm doing prog house and stuff like that to fuck that, I want to play a rave. Boom, like convert.
And that's all it was back then. It was all rave. It wasn't segregated. Now you've got so many different genres now, haven't you? Back then it was just rave music, and you could play a breakbeaty track with a German techno track with a bouncy house track, and it was all rave, wasn't it?
You listen to Cole Cox's stuff from Donny Warehouse.
Exactly.
And it's the whole gamut, and it was brilliant. And you're like, wow, just wow.
So who was playing at Donny Warehouse when you first went, or around that time?
Easy Groove, Loft Groover. We had Lenny D across. I mean, that's some brilliant acts because Enzo was involved in it. He was like the A&R guy, and he was deep into his music, which to me makes a massive difference. The promoter or person running an event has got to be into music because
to book the right artists.
You had obviously Coxie, you had Stu Allan, you had Easy D and Rush, you had all the local talent as well. So C Smooth, G Real. I mean, the whole spread, it was brilliant, but it was a little bit more leaning towards a sort of techno-y sound than the breakbeaty sound of the South.
Yeah, that's what Coxie was playing. But I mean, I obviously my my interest in Coxie was obviously when he played in the Pleasure Dome in Birkenhead. I've got tapes there, and he's playing fucking, DJ PC. We chose to go to the moon and stuff like that, and feel the panic and all that kind of stuff, like proper bouncy hard stuff. And he's changed a lot. Like, so
Yeah.
you've gone to Donny Warehouse. I'm guessing your musical buying changed slightly after that. Then,
God, yeah, absolutely. And I was, because they had a record shop in there as well. But actually, I guess what led me there was one of the record shops I was buying from in Rotherham. They got like mixtapes in, so I got Stu Allan. I can't remember why. I think it's because my pal Liam said, "Oh, he's on Key 103, play some good music." So I got this, and it was Rave tape, but it wasn't, didn't have the MC on. But I kind of got drawn into that sort of that. So it's Stu, rest in peace. It was him who kind of drew me into kind of think, oh, okay, this is a bit different. Then Donny Warehouse, and away you go. And yeah, started going out, and the record buying just completely transformed. It was like, yep. Start buying the house stuff, buy the bare minimum what I need to for the charty stuff for the towny pubs when I do the Friday and the Saturday. And then what we started doing, I had an agreement because I was trying to mix in some of the harder stuff. And the guy who owned the pub, Jerry, he's like, can't be playing this rave stuff, it's a bit too hard. He says, I'll tell you what, you can do what you want on a Thursday, but just keep it more charty on a Friday. I'm like, cool. And on a Thursday in Chesterfield at the time, there was a night at the Montmartre, they call it Monty's. I can't remember what the actual event was called. So you'd have Brisk coming down and people like that.
wow.
So we became the feeder boss. There's myself, EWL, our kid, and this kind of came about having tried to do some events in Rotherham early 94. But we started doing this, I think, late 93, early 94. And that's when we sort of got this little thing going on our little Thursday gig. I mean, Brisk came down once, he brought me a couple of white labels. I was like, made. I was
Wow.
like hero worship. Like,
All the way from Australia?
all the way from Southampton or something. But he comes in because he was playing, he brought me some tunes. I'm like, fucking hell, this is brilliant. Wow, but I'm mind blown. But that year, 94, was that the run up to the start of Uprising. That's when, I was absolutely out every weekend. I was just trying to get on. We were doing this thing on a Thursday night. I tried earlier in the year to put an event on a Monday, which we got 150 so heads in, but it was never going to go anywhere. It was Monday in Rotherham. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. So all of a sudden it was a complete flip. End of 93, 94, just fully immersed in wanting to go raving and buy rave music.
So one thing I just want to touch on quickly, you've mentioned our kid a few times. I'm assuming you mean your brother. Is he an MC? Is he a DJ? Tell the people that know who he is.
yeah, Ian. So it's Ian or Beats. So he's obviously, me and him thick as thieves. We were going off and doing that because he was coming raving as well. We got introduced to Danny EWL and a lad called Unity, Craig, at one of the record shops I was buying at. So our little Thursday night sort of shindig was me scooping him up. So me and our kid would go down, scoop up Danny, then Craig, drive over to Chesterfield. We'll do our little, little show, little rave show, little, very, very like, grassroots, cheap and cheerful. I listened back to some of the recordings actually because that's the old Uprising tape that we used to record the sets on. I've been ripping some old tape. Yeah. Wow. And so got some of the old sets before Uprising at Norma Jean's and listened. I've ripped them and I listened in the car. I'm like, ooh,
yeah. We used to sell these.
I was going to put them out for the fans, for the tape collectors. I listened. I just thought, no.
Yeah, best not. It's like going through the old photo album, isn't it? No, you're not seeing that one. You're not seeing that one. Yeah, no. Stop it, Mum. So you've mentioned Uprising now, so we'll talk about that. How did the whole Uprising thing come about, from the name, the logo, and how it began?
Yeah, good question. So, I answered this a few times. So, there we are doing the Thursday night. I got quite matey with Kenny, who was the manager at the Revolution in Rotherham. I tried doing a Monday night, didn't really work out. He was a bit indifferent. Then we got given like little half-hour slots because some of our crowd were going off to the warehouse, so they were kind of okay. You can do a little half-hour show. So me and our kid would do that. And he came to me in, I think it was October '94, and he said, "Look, we had a Thursday night, like cheap beer night, pound a pint, whatever, for all the students. Got a load of grief off the old bill, underage kids coming in, shut it down. Club's empty, doing nothing, they're struggling. Do you want to put a night on?" I'm like, okay, I don't know. So I'm like there thinking, well, we're getting paid 50 quid in Chesterfield that we're splitting between us and taking the petrol money out, which is nothing. It was nothing then, really. And here's the chance to put a night, and I'm like, oh, should I do this? Because if it bombs, I'll lose my night in Chesterfield. And, that dilemma, like nearly not. Yeah. It's the massive event that nearly never happened. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'll go and pay for the flyers on me credit card because I wasn't earning a lot of dough then, and just fuck it, I'll take a punt on it. So 12th of January 95 was the date that we pegged, which seems mad now because it's like a week, fortnight after bloody New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But as it happened, just because I was out in the scene regular, I was kind of not a face, but I was known and I was out there promoting, and it took off.
Where did the name and the logo come from?
Yeah, so the name Uprising, it was all about like rebelling and sticking two fingers up to the old bill. I mean, I was in bother as a younger guy, and although I stopped getting in bother as we mentioned, I was always a little bit anti-establishment. It was kind of born out of something I saw when I was younger, when I saw the old bill knocking somebody back who I knew when they were arresting for something innocuous. And I just thought, how can they be like that? So there's always been that kind of, fuck the system kind of not disrespect, but a lack of respect for authority when it's.
Well, it works both ways. To be fair, you're not just anti-authority, you're anti-bullies, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it was kind of, I guess it stemmed from that. I was thinking about that before we did the show, and I was thinking, I'm pretty sure that's probably where it came from. So yeah, it was all about like, it's an uprising at the revolution, and play on words sort of thing. And then as time went on, it kind of, certainly when we lost the revolution, the coppers trying to shut us down. The Just Try and Stop It came in as well. It was like, you ain't stopping our event, mush. So it just fueled that rebellious thing, and the bunny was a blatant rip-off. It was the bastard bunny that I'd seen in Mixmag, so I thought, I like that, I'll put Skull and Crossbones on it. And I originally put it on a medicine bottle because I called my previous night "What's Your Poison?" So there's this bottle, a medicine bottle with a bunny skull and crossbones on it. And then what I did was, later when we call it Mayday, and I just put these shitty parachutes. I mean, it's proper low rent stuff, man. There somewhere. Done myself on Coral Draw. And then I called one Overdose, and the police didn't like that because that was like, whoa. So we had those. And then the last one we did, because Revolution didn't want to do it, we did a one-off in a place called Horatio's. In fact, here's a tale. We did it in August 94 in another pub, this little underground pub. Didn't get many people in. And because Mick Enzone and Johnny Dangerous, who was helping me do stuff, they knew Tony De Vit. So Tony De Vit came and played a Thursday night in Rotherham and played hardcore. We never recorded.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Fucking hell, that's huge, mate, isn't it?
We didn't charge a lot for it either, because obviously Mick knew him. I was just like, you look back now and you think, fucking hell, we had Tony De Vit on a Thursday. Rotherham.
He's so iconic, isn't he? Fucking hell. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was your first event called Uprising then?
So we call it What's Your Poison, the first one.
Sorry, you did say that, yeah.
That's in January 94. Then I think I called it the same again in February. And then what I did was I took the bunny off the Skull and Crossbones off the medicine bottle, and with a little parachute, we did a May bank holiday one. I called it Mayday. And then I called one Overdose or vice versa. I can't remember, but yeah, just like I said, low rent stuff.
And
they was like the precursor.
What was the lineup? What was the lineups back then in the early days?
There's me, Enzo, Mental Power, so DJ Mental MC Power, who did a lot on the drum and bass scene. We had some local lads. And then as time went on, we got slightly bigger names. We had Chris C on. Chris C played for us. He used to be quite popular at Donny Warehouse. He's long since kind of packed in. I'm trying to think what else we had. I think that was about it. It was like ones who were cheaper do a favour through Mickey Enzo. He helped me a real lot. Yes. And then obviously myself, and then just like local MCs, and I think we got Nats on as time went along. He came and did it. Obviously, he was like the big name MC then. Yeah. But it was kind of later in stuff. I'm quite honest about the fact that I think if I'd have tried it in the modern day, it'd have probably failed. We were doing it at a time when the scene was still quite buoyant and popular. Lots of records, lots of music, lots going on, and I just, having had an ear for music and an appreciation of what people are into, what you build a sixth sense up when you do the pubs and clubs, because you've got to fill a dance floor, so you learn to read the dance floor and what's working, what's not, and so on. And I think that in the rave scene, even though we were off going and getting up a pickle and having a good party at the weekends, you still had a feel for what worked, like the MCs, and why the Yorkshire MCs work, that kind of tribal, that melodic kind of tinge in the voice when they're MCing and stuff. So that was kind of bringing those bits together and evolving. That's what made it work, I think.
Yeah, I think so what you had at the time as well, like the mid-90s, it was all going a little bit happy hardcore, and everyone was kind of playing. You had your Size, your Dougals, your Slipmats, Demand and Brisk and all them. But then there was only really Uprising, um, Steam in North Wales, and North
Mm-hmm.
in Stoke. They were the
Yeah.
one. They were the only really like of the hard. Like I've always preferred the harder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like floaty trance, but the stuff like you guys are playing, and obviously, of course, Mick M Zone,
Mm-hmm.
Marky G for the time was playing that kind of stuff as well. Tricks, X-Ray, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to get the Helter Skelter tapes, and I'd go straight to the Techno Drone tapes
Yeah.
because that I always preferred that harder style.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you can catch me each and every Thursday night for my show, Absolute Old Skool, only on In Demand Radio, where I play you 2 hours of classics and a feast of forgotten gems, usually on the harder side of the spectrum. We kick off with the early 90s every week, and then we have the Trance Flashback section, followed by the Spotlight section. In the past, we've featured clubs and events like Kinetic, The Drome, Good Grief, labels like Tidy Tracks, Bonsai and Shock, and artists such as Ultrasonic, Tony De Vit and Scott Brown. We always finish off nice and tough with the Go Hard or Go Home section. You can catch it on In Demand Radio Thursday nights from 11 p.m. or listen back absolutely free of charge on indemandradio.com or download the free In Demand Radio app for Apple or Android.
And that massively influenced Uprising, you're right. And I think Mick Emsum really moved into trance himself around 94 times. So he went from playing sort of the bit of everything to went on that kind of tip and bringing those guys across as well, like Bonsai Records guys and stuff. I think he was influenced to an extent by Neuer. There's a guy called Matt Neuer who was Destruction resident, and he played a lot, not floaty, but a lot deeper trance. And I think that kind of influenced Mick a little bit, maybe, I don't know. And then Marky G, you mentioned, Mark played for me. I booked him in, was it March, April 95? And he came and he was more into the deep techno stuff. He was kind of playing the back rooms. He was a writer for Eternity Mag. And he came out, and I remember he played Uprising. And for half the set, people just stood looking like, what the fuck is he playing? And of course, he's with his mad antics like he does. And then they sort of got drawn into that. And he got talking to M-Zone. And I'm sure to this day that helped him because he adapted his style a bit, realised, hey,
I can be a bit more, marketable.
And the rest is history. But that kind of sound was always a big influence for us and probably carried us through the late 90s, which we can come on to when the scene just completely crashed on its arse.
Yeah. So where does Kenny Sharp fit into all this? Because it was my understanding back then, and I might be wrong, I always thought it was yourself and Kenny who ran Uprising. Is that right, or is that have I been misled there?
So what happened was we lost the club in Rotherham because basically the people running the club into the ground. We made some inquiries, could we take on the lease, because Kenny had managed clubs for a good few years. What can we do? And somehow, somewhere, obviously, because we weren't particularly subtle about it, maybe, they found out, he got sacked. They put in this puppet manager, this lad who was DJing for him, who was just their Joey, basically. And off he went. And I think this was June 95. So basically, because Uprising was doing well and Kenny was out of work, I was giving him a touch just to sort of, as mates, because we got quite matey then. And we eventually, the venue got shut down just because they were running it like the bouncers were dreadful, just poor, and there was a whole load of shenanigans. And that got shut down. I think it was 13th of July 95. So it was like shit. We needed another venue, so we found a venue next to the old Rotherham ground at Millmore called the Tivoli, and we went there, put a night on there. It was my birthday party. Had Stu Allan on. I'll come back to Stu as well the first time he played for us because that was something else. And we did that one night there, and the coppers went to them the following morning and said, if you put this night on again, we're shutting you down. So that was it. But when we moved then to Retford in August, when we finally found a venue, thanks to Nats, Kenny and I joined forces, and we went on together, so to speak. But it was myself in the beginning, and because getting friendly with Kenny, we joined forces. And back to Stu. So Stu played for us 27th of April 95, and I always remember this because the club should hold 400 or whatever it was. It had loads more back in the old rave days when they had the enchantments and stuff. So it's a Thursday night in Rotherham. I talked to the crowd because I was in with the crowd. I've always been very much down with the crowd rather than kind of like floating off thinking, there's something special. And I always said, if we do really well, get the numbers up and I can afford it, I'll get Stu Allan on because obviously, it's quite expensive to get Stu on. and managed to get him on. So got him on the 27th of April, and I used to play the last set to try and lift sort of my name up a little bit. And I can remember following, there were 750 fucking people in this club in Rotherham on a Thursday night.
With a 400 capacity.
Mate, I'm pushing now saying it, honestly. The noise in the club, cheering him, and I'm then going, I'm following on the guy who got me into raving, essentially, because listening to his tape and flipping my head. The fucking crowd was ringing out. I was shaking like a shitting dog putting that. Honestly, I still remember it vividly now, and just thinking, holy shit. And it just happened in a whirlwind. And I'd also listened to him New Year's Eve in Donny Warehouse 94. I've been in Donny Warehouse New Year's Eve 94 thinking, oh, this is brilliant. It was packed out. It was that packed you were getting moved around by the crowd. You couldn't dance. Stu was on. I'm thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great to play? I wonder if Uprising, I hope it takes off. All these dreaming big kind of thing, and everything is going to happen. And it starts to happen. Then you get Stu on the 27th of April, and I played Donny Warehouse, I think that following Saturday. I got my first gig through Mick M-Zone. So all of a sudden, in the space of 4 months, I've gone from dreaming to, pinch yourself a minute.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Mate, I can contest to that. Like I say, I started this podcast. So I as you know, I've been DJing since the 90s. And I like yourself, walked away from the scene. I think it was about 2000, because nowhere was really playing what I wanted to play.
Yeah.
So I walked away for a couple of years, and then the hard house explosion came.
Mm-hmm.
Tidy Tracks and Nucleus Records, and I started in this new sound, which excited me. So I got back into the scene again, did a few years, and then the same thing happened again. The hard house explosion in the Northwest was massive for 4 or 5 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just dissipated, and there was nowhere playing what I wanted to play. So I walked away completely. And it was 12, 13 years later when what I used to play was then classed as old school. That had come back. So I was like, okay, I've still got all my old tunes there. I can do an old school set with what I used to play. I'm touching on to what you just said then about Stu Allan. Obviously, this whole thing where we're doing it now with the podcast, I started when COVID happened. I thought I'll make a t-shirt brand. I wanted to make a t-shirt brand that people seen and it immediately associated with the club scene. So I come up with this brand, Couture 303, with a little logo and all that. And to promote the t-shirts, I had a website. And off the back of the website, I thought, there's a local lad there who does an event called Back to the Dock, which is like an old school event. He'd booked me to play. I'd bought myself a set of decks, got back into it. So I got him on to do an interview like we're doing now. Obviously, it wasn't as flamboyant as this, but I went to his house and we had a little pocket recorder, and I interviewed him. And that was my first podcast, which I didn't even know. It wasn't meant to be a podcast. It was just interviewing him to get some sales to the t-shirts. But at the time, I thought I was using that. I'm into mixed martial arts. So I was using the tap out methodology. I thought the way tap out came about, they made these t-shirts and they said, if we can put our t-shirts onto the back of a fighter who's just won a fight, then the sales will go up. He stood in the ring, holding his hand up victorious with one of our t-shirts on. People will buy our t-shirts. So I reached out to a few people and said, if I send you a t-shirt, will you wear it at a gig? Sharkey, Vibes, Demand, and Stu Allan. And they all said, yeah. So when I went to Back to the Dock's 5th anniversary party, I walked in and there's Tatesy from Awesome 3 with one of my caps on and a t-shirt I'd custom made for it. Walks in the hardcore room. There's DJ Demand pumping it out with one of my t-shirts on. Goes into the back room. There's fucking Stu Allan and his manager behind the decks, both with my t-shirts on. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. It was, like you say, it was a pinch me moment. I mean, Stu Allan's just a fucking legend, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Uprising, I thought it was always like the kind of harder trance and early hardstyle type of stuff, but you said you had Stu Allan there. So what was the music policy in the early days then?
So it's kind of everything. It was all about, I suppose, an amalgam of the different sounds, because I was buying everything. I was buying some trance, I was buying hardcore, I was buying bounce techno, gabba, the whole shooting match. So it was a mixture, and I think I knew then that you had to have that kind of diversity in your lineup and event. So obviously M-Zone was massively influential. He was playing the trance, and that got Kenny drawn in as well. I think it was listening to Emzone and realising, it's not all just ravey like hands. This is quite close to the housey stuff he was into, and he really embraced it and started even playing it as you'll know. But it was just about getting that mix, and then as time went on, we evolved. It naturally happened that there's me playing sort of bouncy / gabber, Glover who come on board playing happy hardcore, scratching as good as Sai, in my opinion, really, really good. And then Kenny obviously playing trance, then latterly Topgroove coming on board as well. So, and we kind of got that whole gamut of what could make up hardcore. And I think that had a massive effect. We built that reputation that even if the guests didn't maybe put on the best show, we kind of created that following. I look at all the other nights as well, and in my opinion, all the best nights, that if their residents have got something about them and built that following, that's what made the night as good, over and above whatever guests you put on. Kinetic same, Donny Warehouse same, Destruction the same, list goes on. So I think all the good nights, it was the strength of the residents as much as the guests. And
so you mentioned guests there. Obviously, I know from my experience, you had Emzone and Marcus here on Sharkey. Did you have any international guests on?
Yeah, we've had Paul Elstack, we've had Timo Mass, we've had Neophyte, we've had Basty and King Matthew, Gary D. Trying to think who else. Brain cells a bit fried, mate. But I mean, we've quite a few on repeat. Oh, Gollum.
Go on.
Gollum as well, he was on.
Gollum, fucking hell.
Yeah, Paul Elstack played for us. Gollum played a cracking set. He's brilliant, Lars. Paul Elstack, he played for us we did a night called Recycle, and then Brian and I did the Kinetic thing, which we'll come on to. Hard work. I'll in the spirit of positivity, never meet your heroes. A bit disappointed, but
he's American, isn't he, Paul Elstack?
No.
He's Dutch. Sorry, he's Dutch, isn't he?
Dutch.
Yeah. I don't know where the fuck got American from there. I think it's the moustache. Just thought he was American.
like dodgy porn tash.
Yeah. So Uprising, from my knowledge, changed. Obviously, I'm from Liverpool. Bit further down the road for me, so I wasn't familiar with what's going on. So, what happened with Uprising to form Revolution? Because I played for you twice. Once was Uprising, once was Revolution, and that was only in about a 6-month period. So, what happened there?
So I came out of it. So it's well documented. I've covered this a few times. Unfortunately, a girl lost her life after coming to Uprising, 28th of June, 97, a girl called Leanne Knight. And she'd been in, I was actually there trying to resuscitate her. So that was a bit of a head spin. So that kind of, I went through this period of like...
I didn't know that, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, she just took a funny turn. We went back home with her. She was all right. Went back to the club, finished at the club, came back. She really started to deteriorate and just literally passed away, which was pretty grim. And that kind of spun my head for some time because I just thought, I want nothing to do with this. I was always into music before going and getting, partying and stuff. And the partying side is obviously what puts people at risk or can do. This girl's passed away. I'm just like, want nothing to do with this. Plus, my eldest is 3 months from being born. All a bit of a head spin. So I just decided, I need to go into a proper job. And I also saw the demise of the scene as well. We've been to this big get together in Northampton with all the heads of the scene, the big name DJs. Some of the promoters say, "What can we do?" Because we could see it was dropping off, and it was obvious they're not letting new talent through, and they're being formulaic, and it's again well documented. So that was all happening, and I kind of stepped out, and Kenny ran with it. And then lads were coming to me and moaning, saying, "Oh, we're not getting paid right, whatever." And I think, to be fair to Ken, I think he was just struggling to figure out what to do. I think everybody was, to be fair. So you got a night that's dropping off in revenues and stuff. He's obviously got commitments, car and everything else. But the lads are obviously at the receiving end of that. And I could see the brand kind of just deteriorating. So I just thought, you know what? I set this thing up. I still am a bit precious about the brand and the ethos of what it's about. I wasn't prepared to see it turn to shit. So I'm like, well, you're not using that. It's my copyright. It stops. And I set up Revolution. He did something else himself. I can't remember what it was. And the Revolution thing only came about because I then, further down the line, split with the eldest mum. So I went from full-time dad working and all the rest of it, to living on my own in a flat, seeing him, in the week and at the weekends. What I'll do, I might as well do something. So that's where Revolution came from, because I just thought, I still think there's a way forward for the scene. And at the time, you got the new energy stuff from Sharkey and Kev Energy, the freeform stuff. So that, plus what Mick Emzone was doing, because trance was still popular, still people making trance. The hardcore scene had just fallen off a cliff. It had just turned to absolute crap. It was a caricature of itself.
Yeah.
There was still bits of bouncy techno being made. Scott Brown in particular was still doing stuff.
What a
so
legend.
I kind of evolved what Uprising was doing to drop more of the happy stuff and bring in the new energy, freeformy stuff, and that's how it was born. And also a bit of cockiness to sort of say, I can still do this. I didn't name the name Uprising, although it's a bit of a play on the old club's name.
Yeah.
I still pull it. I mean, that's the Rev logo there, and obviously the bunny there. Somebody did some metal work for me.
Yeah.
So I came up with that idea of just use that name, and again, luckily it took off. We had pretty busy nights once a month at the Arches. It was all good.
It was 2 rooms as well, wasn't it? I remember I came and I played I think I played a freeform set, and it was all predominantly like Shark. I think at the time, I'm gonna guess it was either 98 or 99, because I think Hard Life had just come out. Because I remember speaking to Sharky about the track Product of Society, because at the time, and I still stand by it today, it's one of the finest pieces of music I've ever heard in my life. It's a fucking incredible track, that. And I was talking to him. When I say I was talking to him, let's just say maybe that's some of them party suites that you'd had. I'll say as far as that. I was talking to Sharky, and he probably had a couple of suites himself.
Oh yeah, of course he has.
But yeah, so it was 2 rooms back then as well, wasn't it, in Revolution?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And you're right. It was. I mean, that track, absolutely stands the test of time. The stuff they were doing then, now, I mean, I've got, you can't quite see it. It's all kind of up there, top shelf.
Aye. I did tell you to hide all that stuff, Paul.
Yeah, sure. There's something weird about it. The Sharky's my top shelf material.
Yeah. He'd fucking love that job, wouldn't he?
Fucking right, he would. Yeah, or maybe I would too. But you're right. It was good. I mean, it was a weird one, because the Arches was a grubby little club, but everybody loved it. I mean, that's where Gatecrashers started. So again, back to Uprising briefly, when we exploded, ended up in Sheffield, June '96, Thursday night. They were doing this bloody gentleman's lap dancing, God knows where they got that idea from, but they thought there could be a gentleman's nightclub. Of course, it fell on its arse. Yeah. So we then got offered the Friday, and Gatecrasher, who'd been at the Arches, they got offered the Saturday, and then boom, off we went. Back to the Arches. It was a weird one. It was just the right side of grubby, the club. It was just got that underground feel about it, and 2 rooms. It was quite a cool little venue, to be fair.
So how long did Revolution run for?
Did for a couple of years. So I met the now ex, very, 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 very long since ex. That was actually at Rev, because she came across, a mate of mine. So we got introduced to her, we started dating, and then as time went on, kind of busy with work and obviously sort of year into dating, so kind of stepped out of it a bit, and our kid ran with it. But again, our kid likes to go out and have the party and stuff, and you've got to be focused. You can go and party by all means, but you've got to look after your shit, especially in that scene. If you go too much wayward, it'll all fall apart. And I think you just struggle with that, and the organisation of it, and the kind of the discipline of it. And I don't mean it's not discipline, it was just a little bit alien.
You can enjoy yourself too much, can't you?
Yeah. And he was going to say, and plus, and the music was getting trickier and trickier. The new energy stuff had got a bit formulaic, the freeformy stuff. The hardcore was pretty much dried up. I was dabbling with bits of hard house, like you were saying, like Maro Picotto and stuff, and trying to intersperse that in, but they weren't quite really feeling it, and it hit hard times. And I sort of said to him, because we run a bit of debt up, and I said, look, just bail. If you want to bail, just bail, and I'll fix it, because I don't want you digging yourself a hole. And I got mated with Bright Topgroove, and I sort of said, I think I'm going to sack this off, just pay off, guy who we owe some money for flyers, blah blah blah, sack it off. Well, I'll run with it. I'm like, well, it could be good, but you're gonna have to put some work in and might not be any return at first. If you're prepared to do that, great. So he did, and he ran with it, and it got it back on its feet. And then we got talking with Kenny. This was probably 2001 time. Got talking with Kenny, and long story short, we kind of like, made a peace, so to speak. and he got back involved. We decided to relaunch Uprising as the three of us, which we did. So it kicked back off again. We started doing events. We did them at the National Centre in Sheffield, which is the big sort of museum-y thing that's now a student sort of venue. And then Kenny had obviously got commitments, family commitments. I've got the then Mrs. partner pecking ahead a little bit. So we bailed out. So it was like the retirement again. And I wasn't quite feeling like you were saying about the music. I wasn't feeling it after Leanne dying. I wanted nothing to do with it. I'm out of here. And it was the same in 2002. It's just like, let's pull the ripcord.
Yeah.
And left Bri to go off and run with it and evolve it as he saw fit.
So it was Topgroove who was running Uprising in the early 2000s, yeah?
Yeah, 2002, and he went through some tough times, but then 04, 05, when you got the Rave baby kind of resurgence, and there was the green shoots of like UK hardcore before it went full on cheese fest.
Yeah.
So you got people like Gammy, got Devastate, David Ever doing stuff with Brian and others in the studio that they had in Hull. So there's some quite exciting music. Lee UHF, who's now doing his Dirtbox and other stuff down in Birmingham, he was involved. He was doing Total Bedlam with Kieran Keys. So it was kind of this almost like a resurgence of sort of rave scene mid 2000s, which was pretty cool at the time. I was indifferent and I didn't like what Bri was doing. I was being a bit dick, if I'm honest, because I was like, it's not the way I would go. But
yeah. I don't like it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But to be fair, look back and actually, it was absolutely starting to boom again, and the Rave baby stuff was exploding. We had Birmingham and the events there. So when I look back, it was good to see that it went through that resurgence. But at the time, because it wasn't the direction I would go in, I was a bit of music.
Yeah. Speaking of me, I was a little bit. I've actually had Lee on my podcast, Lee UHF.
Yeah.
Yeah. That came about. I did a podcast with Alex MC Energy. I went down to his shop to record that, and it was funny. It was how it came about. It was fun. I always tell the listeners, like, that one came about. Lee messaged me on Instagram saying, "Hi mate, I've just watched your podcast with Alex MC Energy. Don't mind me asking, where did you get your mic stands from?" These little tiny things he wears. Just like, I told him, got talking. I went, you know what? And he starts a podcast himself off the back of that. So you mentioned the Kinetic experiment, shall we say? Don't laugh. Come on, tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so we obviously Bri got quite mated with Col, who you had on the interview, and Col had been doing some bits and pieces, and despite not being from the area and therefore not quite in the clique as he said on the podcast, doing that,
he did well considering, like, didn't he? He did well, like, considering he wasn't one of the boys.
Because there's a certain style of MC that they like in our area. They're a little bit, you're not from around these parts, are you? Like, American Werewolf, stay off the moors. So the Kinetic thing, we kind of, I don't know how he got to it, talking about maybe we could do something. So he was in touch with Glenn or Andy, I'm trying to think who the guys who ran it. And there was talk of like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do something with the copyright. He wanted some daft money, and because I'd gone through this to do with Kenny when we fell out, and I paid for a lawyer because I'd copyrighted the logo way back when. So essentially, I owned the rights to the logo. I did at the time. So I kind of knew a little bit about it. And I said, he hasn't got anything. Club Kinetic folded. The artwork, whatever else. It was all like me, ripped stuff off. I think he ripped off the Newcastle United logo or something in amongst it and whatever. And I said, we could set up a company called Club Kinetic Limited, and we'd then have the right to trade as Club Kinetic. So why pay this guy a load of dough for something that he doesn't even fucking own, because folded the company, and he's trying to just make a fast buck out of a name that he was involved with that he's got no right to. And because it was that lad Errol, I think, who started up Kinetic, if memory serves, because he came back on the scene a few years ago and did something. But so we set it up. I got somebody to come up with a logo that was completely different, just to kind of not be, if there was any chance of any copyright or whatever else, then it's completely separate. We couldn't be done for passing off because we own Club Kinetic Limited, a company we set up, and off we went. But again, the arrogance of thinking because you do well with another event, you can just build it and they will come. And one of the nights we went back to mate's house, Brad got his car robbed with a load of dough in it, so that kind of set us back. and the second one bombed. And I think when we bring in coaches of people from Sheffield, there's lads from Liverpool who are like griefing him a little bit, and bullying. They had some to dos with it, and just it was a load of drama, a load of hassle, very expensive, and we just thought, nah, what are we doing? Fuck this. So we did 2 events and sacked it off.
Yeah. So how's Uprising going now? Is it still yours, or are you still putting the odd event on, or what?
Yeah. So what happened was I kind of went off after we'd done this thing together. Me and Bride kind of drifted off, and Uprising continued to evolve. I kind of continued to think, what's he doing? So sort of we went our separate ways, and then we got back together and involved early 10s, so 2011ish. It asked a couple of times I'll get back involved, and I'm like, nah, not for me, I'm not interested. You crack on, I'll come and play for you, not bothered. And he came again, and he'd been getting involved with Kieran Keys, and Kieran obviously is massively successful with his Ravers Reunited. Wasn't the musical direction I was into, so that kind of fueled my sort of sniffy attitude.
Yeah.
And no issue with Kieran, because at the end of the day, the guy's done superbly well. He knows what he likes, he knows what he wants to do, and it is away. And I think Bride realised that that's not really the direction, that wasn't what Uprising was about. So he drifted back, and he came and said, look, I just want it to be like it was back in the day. So we got together, we got involved in doing events, and we've kind of done stuff ever since. So he obviously, it's his event primarily, he invited me back in to be involved. And yeah, just put my input in, and more recently, Jamie J Tracks has got involved as well. So twice a year, we tend to do Halloween, which is coming up, birthday. We might do the odd one in between, or a guest appearance, but that's pretty much it, because we're all old men.
Yeah. What's the day for the Halloween one? Is it
25th? I should know. It's 25th of October.
Oh, so this podcast is going to go out after that. So I hope it went well anyway. So tell us anyway. What's the lineup of that anyway? Tell the people what they've missed. Let's have a look at what you could have won.
Because Jamie's booked it. I can't even remember.
Oh, look at that. I've put you on the spot there, haven't I?
Because I'm not hands off with it, but I'm not the driving force that I was before. I'm not a passenger, if you know what I mean. But it's just like, I'm a guy in his mid-50s. What the fuck do I know about what people want to go out and party to, right?
You'd be surprised, mate. You'd be surprised.
So I say that when we did after the COVID event, the first event after COVID that we did, and we had 900 odd people in the club, and it was all, wow. Yeah, I know, it's nuts. And it was ticketed as well, because we'd just done the Skiddle or whatever it was, Ticketmaster, I can't remember. And we looked at the demographic on the ticket. 43% of the crowd out of that 9,500, whatever it was, were under 30. And I said to Brian at the time, I said, fucking hell, I said, over 400 people have come here under 30 to see a middle-aged man and his mate.
He's probably never heard of.
Just blew my mind.
So after the Halloween events, you say you do 2 a year. What's the next one after that,
Next one's the 30th birthday. That's going to be, we said, around the 29th of March, something like that, back end of March.
Oh, very good.
We've pretty much got the lineup finalised. I'm not going to leak it out.
No, it's okay.
But we've tried to go all out. We've tried to go across the years. We've tried to pick guests who were popular, even if they weren't big names, as well as some big names. We've thought long and hard about how can we appeal to like the crowd across the years, because we are steeped in the old school. There's no getting away from it, right?
Yeah. So obviously you've mentioned there that old school. So as I said, I don't know whether I said on either on or off the podcast, but what we used to play back in the day is now classed as old school. So this resurgence of old school is good, because you can dust off the old vinyl and get the old sets out. So do you find you're getting USB? Yeah. Do you find you're getting more gigs now because of the resurgence of the old school scene?
Yes and no. I've got asked for a few, but I've really wound it in, because I've sort of said, I'm picking and choosing. I'm not going to say I'm retiring, because I've done that a couple of times, and then I've had a break, and then I've thought, why did I say that? Because it sounds like you're just being a bit melodramatic, and it's not like you said. It's just, I'm really fucked off. Can't be arsed with it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not going out and taking a wage when I'm not feeling it. Screw it. So I'm not quite in that phase now, because I'm actually quite enjoying it. I played a bit last night. I was messing around. But I'm not taking gigs. There have been a couple. I'm just not feeling it. I did the couple for Stu. Oh, Stu's memorial. I've got up here. I did one last weekend at Doncaster Warehouse called Spin Back. That was really good. Lots of old heads in there from back in the day. We tried to make it authentic, or the pro was trying to make it authentic, and really did a good job. So yeah, I kind of do that. I think I'd be very choosy about the ones that I did because I want to play somewhere where people are going to appreciate what you're playing. And what I found sometimes is people have booked me for an older set. I'm playing it because the crowd is a lot younger, and it's not like you're full on UK hardcore. They're not as into it, and there's no point. I get a buzz out of seeing people having a buzz and looking at what they're doing and trying to play to that and bring that out. And if we're in different places, what's the point? I might as well sit in my retirement home drinking Horlicks or something with my blanket on my knee. And
I got booked to play a wedding this year, and it's a guy who I know quite well from the scene. And I said, I don't do all that kind of stuff. He said, we've got a DJ. We just want you to come down and play an hour.
yeah,
I was like, I don't really do that kind of stuff. And under duress, I went, all right, yes, sound. Give him the place. And he said, yeah. He went, bring a load of drone stuff, all he had, Sans and all that. I went, okay, yeah. Fucking hell. 2 tunes in, empty dance floor, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm fucking scanning through all fucking plastics with pretty green eyes and all that kind of stuff to play some fucking, a little bit of happy hardcore, just sentence to drag the people back onto the fucking dance floor. I could have fucking killed them, fucking fuming. So what's your job now then, Paul? What are you up to these days?
So when I quit Uprising full time, when Ellis was born and when that young lass was passing away, I decided to go back into IT, but I didn't want to sit behind a screen, although that's what I do these days.
That's what we are now, yeah.
So I thought, well, I like this work hard, get paid well for working hard, and I like technology and I like meeting people. I'll go and do sales. So I tried to get into IT sales. The internet was booming, fell into that, did okay, and then I sort of moved into what's now known as cybersecurity. So it was that was early 2000s, literally 2000. I started with a company called Message Labs Group Star, and it kind of progressed since then. So now I'm sound really poncy. I hate saying this because I'm the most like don't give a shit person. I'm the UK sales director for cybersecurity.
Get you. Hang on, let me just move that camera back. Get you fucking big head in.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, well, you asked me, I'm like, oh
he's going red, look, bless him.
I sell cybersecurity with a bunch of other lads, and we try not to miss our number and get a bollocking off the boss. There you go. That's what we do.
There you go. So, in the history of Uprising and Revolution, was there anyone ever came down and you got a little bit starstruck, or anyone you were really excited to see? Obviously, you said you met Elstack and it didn't exceed your expectations, shall we say? Was there anyone who you met who really kind of stuck out in your memory, or excelled, came down maybe and absolutely fucking ripped the place up?
I mean, Paul Brisk, what a fella. He, from first meeting him, hearing him, loving his style, massive influence, meeting him in Norma's, brought me some tunes. I'm just like, and then coming and playing for us. We've become mates since. He's come to ours when we play gigs. He comes over from ours. I'd say I'd call Paul out every time just because top lad. John Sharkey, just he's hilarious, funny, madcap, he's brilliant. I had a lot of time for Rich Clarkey because he used to play some cracking sets for us. Real of what he played. I mean, loads really. You get quite mate with some. I know some of it's all like that false, like air kiss. Oh yeah, thanks for the booking. Yeah, well, and fine. That's the scene, right? But there's some people you really get along with. I'd say certainly John, Paul. Yeah, some of the lads as well.
Ringo.
Sorry, yeah.
John, Paul, and Ringo.
Yeah, nice one. So yeah, I'd call those, and of course Stu. I mean, Stu was top drawer. He was just an absolute gentleman. It's funny because that's not funny, but it's odd because he passed away shortly after I lost my mum, and I was devastated losing my mum and stuff like that, and you know, you're still getting around now like you do. But equally, Stu as well, that was probably as devastating because it's just like, wow. Yeah, there are a handful of people in my life who've gone who aside from family, I've just been a bit like, fucking hell, it's not for six. And that was one.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, it's just, apart from family and obviously friends and stuff like that, when a celebrity, if you like, you know, passes away, normally it's just, oh yeah. But like when Muhammad Ali died, when Stu Allan died, and when Malloch Ali died from Ultrasonic, it's like it fucking it's different, doesn't it? It's fucking really strange. And I think with Stu Allan as well, and I've said this openly, I wouldn't be a DJ if it wasn't for Stu Allan. I certainly wouldn't be a radio broadcaster if it wasn't for Stu Allan. Now, I've got an old school show on in-demand radio. Anyone who's watched this far into the podcast will already have seen the advert for that, by the way. And I get messages quite a lot of people saying, you know, you're like the fucking the Liverpool's answer to Stu Allan. I'm not, because I play old school. The difference is when Stu was playing it, it was fucking groundbreaking stuff. You know, the first time he played hardcore disco was the first time anybody had heard it. I'm playing it because Stu Allan played it. That's the difference. That's where it's nice to get the compliment, and I'll take it. And it's an honour to be even mentioned in the same sentence as Stu Allan. But there's levels to this, and there's a big difference. And I know my place in the scene. I'm playing that stuff that he used to play. That's the difference. You know, he was a pioneer. He really, really was.
Completely agree.
Right. So we're going to finish off now with some quick fire questions.
Go on, let's go.
Paulo, I will take your first answer and your first answer only.
Go on.
You walk into a shop and it's fully stocked. What's your go-to chocolate bar?
Fruit and nut.
Biggest regret from your youth?
I don't think I have one. And I'll tell you why I don't have one, because my missus got a favourite saying, which is regret your past, deny your present. So I've got no regrets.
Like if you've seen the butterfly effect, you'll know that, yeah. What superpower would you have?
Fly.
Where's he gone?
Brilliant, wasn't it? You just imagine. I'm back in a bit.
Yeah.
like Hancock, and then land again.
Yeah, fucking boss spell now. Some of that, today. What the bells and that is? Jam.
Put your head right ass.
Jam, ring, or custard donut?
Ooh, custard donut.
Do you ever sit down for a wee?
Yeah.
What's the most expensive luxury you've ever got for yourself?
The most expensive luxury?
Obviously, your house is a given, like, but, you know, something you've treated yourself to and maybe thought, oh, I shouldn't really have got that.
Car or...
Yeah, car will do.
Yeah, brand new 5 Series back in 2000.
Very nice. What's your biggest fear?
Heights.
Yeah. But you want to fly?
See, that's the weird thing. All right with that, but stood on a
It's
hill.
the falling bit, isn't it?
Yeah. If I can fly, I won't fall.
Yeah, that would conquer you. I get that now. Yeah, there's a method there. Yeah.
I've not even thought about it like that, but now you mention it, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Bath or shower?
Shower.
That wasn't a request, by the way. And if John's watching this, John, yeah, I'm not trying to steal him away from you.
Listen, me and John thinking about him in the shower, Elvis manoeuvre.
Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple on pizza, fucking hell, have a word. You're going to put milk in your tea next, aren't you, first? Get in the sea. Fucking pineapple.
Sorry, I'll sit on the nose. It's only a question. I'm only asking yes or no.
Well, you've lit me up now.
The one thing you would rid from the world?
Isms.
Yeah, I agree with that. If this was a movie, who'd play you and who'd play me?
Oh, if this was a movie, it'd be Rob Brydon and... yeah, get in there. I don't know. Who would you like to play you? I've not really thought about that too much.
I mean, if
Robbie
I've got
Coltrane.
What?
Young Robbie Coltrane.
I was going to say, if I've got artistic direction, I'd probably say Charlize Theron. I'd have to work with it quite a bit, wouldn't I? Rank these films in order.
Ooh.
Wolf of Wall Street, Shawshank Redemption, and Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Ooh. Wolf of Wall Street, Shawshank.
It's a tough one, that, isn't it? Who's
Leo
your...
DiCaprio, brilliant in fucking Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, my God.
Brilliant.
Who's your favourite DJ or MC?
Whoosh. See, somebody I forgot to mention, actually, Scott Brown. I mean, again, brilliant, prolific producer, massive
production's unbelievable. I still play a lot of his stuff right to this day.
Mate, I have got, so all that shelf here is all Evolution
stuff. Wow.
Yeah. All of that. Loads. Sorry, Scott, I should have mentioned you earlier.
Yeah.
I'd probably still go Paul Brisk. And just on the fact he's massively active still, versatile, all the rest of it. And sorry to everybody else because there's a lot of choice, but there can only be one winner.
You've done this before, haven't you?
MCs, that's a tough one, man. I mean, again, all the guys who work with for us, like all of them for lots of different reasons. I think the one who would just pip it because he was so good in his day and so different and not too full on was JD Walker. Just the lyrics, the delivery, the way he would roll with Trance. But I mean, love Natty, Marcus, all of them, all good. Danny, well, big pals with Danny still to see a lot of him. But I think just JD would just tip it for me.
Okay. Favorite swear word or insult?
Fucktard.
Fucking hell, I only asked.
I mean, the C word's always a great one, but it could be a term of endearment as well, can't it?
Yeah, he's a lovely. Oh, he's a funny cunt, isn't he? Rocky 3 or Rocky 4?
Rocky 4, I'll go.
What's your worst habit?
My worst habit? Doing fucking podcasts.
And that leads me on to my last question. What's the best podcast you've ever built?
The best one? This one, of course, mate.
Of course, that's the top answer. Right, thank you so much for this, Paul. Before we go, is there anyone you want to give a mention to that you maybe forgot?
I mean, all the gang who've ever been involved in Uprising, so Kenny, Briar, Kid, Danny, Greg, obviously Stu RIP, Danny Jester RIP, all the lads MCs, Natty and Co, all the guys who played for us who we've got along with. My mum, rest in peace, mum, for running me round and dropping me off in the early days of gigs when I was doing it for fuck all and she'd take me places. And there's loads. My missus put it from my shit. It goes on.
So have you got anything coming up then that you want to promote or plug?
Well, obviously the Halloween do will be and gone. The birthday, quite looking forward to because that hopefully will be like a real sort of love letter to the last 30 years. Putting an event on. I hope people can make it along to that.
When can we expect to see the lineup for that?
That should be, depending on when you release this podcast, it should be. I think we're going to get the flyers ready and out on Halloween so people are ready for it and know. So yeah, you should be hearing about that end of October, early November.
Fantastic. Right, thank you so much for doing this, Paul. I really appreciate your time and your stories. I don't know who, I say it every time, I don't know who or what's next. I've got a pretty good idea who's next, but I can't confirm nothing yet. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Check this fella out, which I fucking cameras. Check this fella out. He's still on the scene. He's still got some gigs coming up. I hope you look forward to the Uprising birthday bash next year. I will see you all in about 3 weeks' time. Take care, guys.